about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for a basement.
Hi, everyone. Frankie here, New West Reset. Hello. How's it going? Welcome back. Thank you very much for shooting in, joining a fella here for another one. Another live stream, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live. Episode 84. Here on this Sunday Fun Day. Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. Just a smidgen, a titch, a tad, a scotch past 5 p.m. local time. That's mountain time, don't you know? Because as always, we're coming at you live from Calgary, right here in southern Alberta, up in Canada land, eh? So how's it going there, buddy? Good to see all of you. Thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly. Still quite lovely, even though we're sneaking up on October here. You know, the end of September's is plus 20 right on the button. Plus 20 Celsius. That's room temperature. So we're going to call it 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Got rain coming in about an hour or so, but that's fine. It's fine. The trees and whatnot need a little water before they go dormant for the winter. Because today's the first day of autumn. There it is. First day of autumn, September 22nd. So there's that. So that's nice. Anyway, thanks for joining me here. Today we're going to be talking about railroad police and fur trader armies. What? Yeah, that's right. You heard me.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, it's going to make sense. We'll get into it here in a bit. But first, before I get ahead of myself, say hello in the chat. Sound off in the box. Let me know how you're doing. Where are you doing it from? Ms. Grandma is here. Good to see you. Hello, hippie shake. Here as well. Howdy, hippie. Good to see you. Title's here. Everybody, Title's here. Got the window open, so people outside are looking around right now going, what? Look out for the turtles, I guess. Philip, hi. Hello again. Yes. Thanks to those of you joining me here after already going live earlier today with our friend Chris at Old World Exploration. We did the 12th episode of the Knucklehead Show earlier today. We talked about Thunder Bay, Ontario there. That's right, Thunder Bay, Ontario, Canada land. Great show. Great time. Always great to chat with my buddy Chris. If you're not already subscribed to his channel, I can't imagine anybody here isn't subscribed to Chris at Old World Exploration. But if you're not, please do. Let's help to get him out around 30,000 subscribers by the holiday season. And speaking of which, if you haven't already, please, consider giving me one of these, a guy, give a fella some thumbs upage. Again, just helps to push me out into the thing as we make our way towards 1,700 subscribers. A whole schwack, a whole kit and caboodle of new friends and faces here on the channel I'm seeing here in the last couple of weeks. So thank you very much for joining me here. Thanks for jumping in on the shenanigans. Yes, indeed. Appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who's already liked and shared. Howdy to everybody over on the as well as the YouTubes. Links below for everything. BitChute and MeWe and the guy's email and all that. Kathy's here. Hello, Kathy Childers. Howdy, howdy. Good to see ya. Kathy kind enough to share some another funny video that I'm going to share with y'alls at the end of the show. So thank you for that. Jabru Joe is in the box. From the studios of the Knucklehead Broadcasting Corporation to the New West Reset Studios in Purdy, Alberta. It's the Frankie Fingers Show. That's right, you got your Frankie Fingers over here, eh? Because, you know how we like to do it here. We get some Frankie Fingers action. So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching Newest Reset. Huh? Well, it's New West Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. I'll tell you. Say you care. And of course, when you have Frankie Fingers, you gotta have my cousin Vinny. There he is. My buddy Vincent. Cousin Vinny in the box. Good to see you. DN is here. Hello again to DN as well. Hello, hello. That's right, Hippie Shake coming at you from Wales. Wales in the UK. Kathy down in Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Bowling Green, Kentucky, where they make, they used to make Corvettes down there or something. Chevrolet Corvette. Anyway, thanks for joining me. As mentioned, links below for everything if you want to shoot a guy an email and, a show idea, or you want to say hello, or you got some old pictures, or I don't know. But links below as well for everything we're going to cover here on the show, the Wikipedia nonsense. And I found some interesting stuff pertaining to these fur trading companies that had their own armies. Yes, I'm not speaking figuratively here. I mean, literally, they had these companies are supposed to be just, trading furs here in the New World. They had their own military forces. What? I'm not playing. I'm serious. Then, of course, the railroad have their own cops. I mean, many of us are well aware of that it's separate from any municipal or city police force, separate from any state or province police or any national police force. But the history behind the still current operating railroad police forces was weird. I did a little more digging into it, and I mean, I'm not a train aficionado or expert by any means. I just love old-timey choo-choo trains. But I couldn't tell you the make and model and year of any particular old train photo you show me. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you approximately what decade it's from, and if it's a 602, and if it's a standard gauge or a narrow gauge. But, that's about the long and the short of it. But I was aware that there was railroad police. I mean, my great-granddaddy, my granddaddy, and a couple of my great-uncles at one time or another worked for the railroad. A couple of my uncles, my dad's bros, worked for the railroad. And my cousin, I have one cousin that still works for the railroad. So the railroad, the trains and stuff, it's in a guy's blood, maybe a little bit. I don't know. Anyway, links for all of that. Also found a cool website that's got some old-timey photos of the railroad cops. And this isn't just a Canadian thing or an American thing. They have them in the UK as well. But it's the story behind the railroad police that's weird. And it's the story behind these fur trading companies having their own military forces, which that one was a new one on me. I knew they competed with one another, the two major fur trading companies here in Canada land back in the day. But I didn't think they literally went to WAR over beaver pelts. But again, literally. Kathy says her great-grandfather worked on the railroad. Yeah, see? See? Jassie's here. Grand evening to you as well, Chassie Nix in the box. Hello, hello. And speaking of links below, New West Reset location map. Cousin Vinny's brainchild. Vinny just coming back from Vancouver, Canadian land over there in British Columbia. Very nice, very nice. Oh, look at this, Jabber Joe. I worked on the railroads in New Zealand. Really? Huh. See, I did not know that. I did not know that. I myself have never worked on the railroad, but I've been on a hell of a lot of trains. I'll tell you what, old-timey ones, diesel ones, like the new ones, a guy just loves the old train. It's just my thing. Train tracks, as many of you are regulars to the live show, you can often hear the train going by in the background when I'm doing my live show because they're about, 150 yards from my window here at the New West Reset Studios, which is basically my bedroom. So there you go. There it is. So if you haven't already, as mentioned, as a reminder, give a guy one of these. Appreciate it, as always. And once again, thanks for winding down your weekend here with yours truly on this Sunday evening, Sunday Fun Day. All right, so let's get the shenanigans rolling here with the Wikipedia. We're going to start it off with this. Again, these WARs, these wars between these rivaling fur trading companies. Now, one of them I'd heard of, kind of, but I hadn't realized that it was a fur trading company battle. And I'm not talking about like war of, retail, who can outsell the most. No, I'm talking armed things and guys with muskets and rifles and, war. It's silly. It's ridiculous. But this is called the Pemmican War. And for those of you who are not familiar, pemmican is an indigenous First Nations Native Indian dish, brainchild concoction. It's smart. You get your meat and you dry it out, okay? Generally bison or maybe caribou, deer. You can do it with beef. But basically, you dry it out, right? When it's dry, almost like beef jerky, kind of, you pound it into a sort of a coarse powder, right? And then you take that dried, powdered meat and you mix it with some melted fat from said animal, right? Bison tallow or what have you. You mix that about 50-50 in there. Then you put in some some dried berries if you like, some Saskatoon berries or some wild blueberries or some wild cranberries. And you kind of pack it down into sort of like a brownie, thick, cut it into pieces, like brownies, the size of brownies, dessert brownies, fudge brownies, chocolate fudge brownies. But it's pemmican. This will save your life. That and bannock, which is, native Indian hardtack, basically. That sustains a guy out on hunts or whatever, or going to war, apparently. Team Heat! Team Heat is here. How's she going there, buddy? Yeah, basically that's what it is, Joe. It's over territory and so on. It's weird. It's weird. Partist. Howdy. Welcome. There's a new one for me there. Good to see you. Hello from Georgia. Down there in Georgia. It does not sound appetizing, but it actually is delicious. If you like beef jerky, then this would be similar in the flavor of the protein portion, the meat portion. Again, whether it's caribou, deer, bison, or buffalo, what we call buffalo, or beef. But then with the berries mixed in, right? So it's kind of sweet. You can make it sweet and savory, and it would be meaty, though. It would be like beef jerky-ish, but with a sweetness from the berries. It sounds weird, but trust me, delicious. Delicious. Vaughn's in the box. G'day from wherever I am. Hey, well, from down under. From down under. So yeah, let's look at this. It's called the Pemmican War, which I had heard of in school. There's like the Battle of the Seven Oaks, but I didn't realize that it was between these rivaling fur trading companies. So I just thought that was the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, I understand, the narrative, the main story of Canada is it was built on the back of the fur trade. That's why Canada land is here. It's why we is what we is. And I don't know. This just seems a little extreme. But anyways, here we go. The Pemmican War is a series of violent confrontations between the Hudson's Bay Company. There it is. You're going to see them a lot in Canadian history. The Hudson's Bay Fur Trading Company. Later, the Hudson's Bay Trading Company. Later, the Hudson's Bay Company. Or HBC. In Canada, we just call it the Bay. The Bay. Let's go to the Bay, pick up a new parka. Because she's going to get cold out there, eh, buddy? Anyways, confrontations between the Hudson's Bay Company and the Northwest Company. Northwest Trading Company. In the Canadas, upper and lower Canada, before we became a country, right? 1867 is our birthday day, our borning day in Canada land. But anyways, these occurred from 1812 to 1821. Like the flipping of the final two digits there, sure. It started after the establishment of the Red River Colony, which is in Manitoba, by Thomas Douglas, 5th Earl of Selkirk, in 1812, and ended in 1821 when the Northwest Company was merged into HBC. We win the war, so we're going to swallow you up and take you over, I guess. The conflict was sparked by the Pemmican Proclamation issued by Governor Miles MacDonell, which forbade any person from exporting pemmican, a key foodstuff for those involved in the North American fur trade, out of the Red River Colony. This was fiercely opposed by the Métis, who were mostly affiliated with Northwest Company and opposed to both the colony and the HBC's dominance in the region. Métis are, well, it's right here, are Indigenous people whose historical homelands include Canada's 3 prairie provinces, shared history and culture, deriving specific mixed European, primarily French, Scottish, or English, and indigenous ancestry. So you have First Nations, indigenous peoples, native Indians, and some fella from Scotland or France or England or somewheres. And they get hitched and they get married and they have children. Those children are Métis. Now they had a huge colony in southern Manitoba. That was kind of like pre-Indian reservation times, right? They basically just wanted to look, we're just going to hang out here. And everybody you guys just leave us alone, eh? But anyway. At the beginning of the 19th century, Thomas Douglas, 5th Earl of Selkirk, sorry, I can't help myself, attempted to resettle his fellow Scotsmen in North America. By 1808, Selkirk had founded 2 colonies, one on Prince Edward Island, another on Baldoon in Western Ontario. He was looking to establish a third. The eastern coastline of Canada was already settled and no longer had any tracts of land large enough, to support a colony. So Selkirk looked for a location with good soil and a temperate climate in the interior. Quickly discovered the region best fitting his needs, fell within the territory of the Hudson's Bay Company. Whoopsies, can't get any of that, eh? That's royal charter from the Crown, saying they have the exclusive there, eh? But he began in 1808 buying shares of HBC in order to acquire the land he needed. Because of the crippling competition with the Northwest Company, HBC stock at the time was down from 250%, to 50%. And he was able to buy a majority share equaling 100,000 British Royal Pounds sterling. In comparison, the whole of HBC stock was worth about 150 Royal British Pounds sterling. May 11th, 1811, HBC granted Selkirk 116,000 square miles of company territory, which encompassed most of the Red River watershed. Today, this region is shared by Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, North and South Dakota, and Minnesota. That's how much land this guy. And here's the map. There, you get all that there, eh, bud? There you go. Oh, there's our old friend Assiniboia. I said it right that time. Yes. Anyway, that's a lot of land, man. That's bigger than some provinces. That's bigger than some states. That's bigger than some countries, man. Wow. Who was this guy glad handing? Mighty Mouse over on the Bubbles channel. Hello. Welcome from the green fighting platform over there. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in there. Thank you. Heidi's here. Minnesota. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, there. Not making fun of anybody from Minnesota, by the way. To me, they just sound like Canadians that got a little tipsy. You had one too many. You had 3 when you should have cut her off at 2 there, eh? I can't believe it's 116,000 square miles. Anyways, the region was already occupied at the time by numerous tribes of Native Americans and Métis. Yeah, really? There's no surprise there. As well as containing outposts belonging to both the Northwest Trading Company, that is, and Hudson's Bay Trading Companies. Yeah. For 100 years, the London-based Hudson's Bay Company dominated North American fur trade, operating almost exclusively from their depots along the shores of the Hudson Bay. Though their charter, granted by Charles II in 1670, gave them exclusive rights to trade along the banks of any connected waterway, anything connected to the Hudson's Bay, which is a massive, bay, eh? this is, this is still crazy how much, anyway, much land that this dude had, man. It seems to me like this guy just swooped in at the perfect time, which to me sets off some red flags, but anyway. The competition from various Montreal merchants and later the Northwest Company in the 1770s changed this. The Northwest Company and others generally traded beyond the actual reach of the HBC, but generally still within their territory, easing the burden for natives of those regions to travel the long distance to Hudson's Bay to trade. To compete with the Northwest Company, the HBC began expanding inland. In 1774, they built Cumberland House on the Saskatchewan River Delta, and soon had outposts situated throughout the Northwest, in some cases directly across from their adversaries. So just poking a bear, just picking a fight. A fight in your general direction. Anyway, sparking a period of intense competition. The Red River region also contained the Northwest Company's pivotal provisioning depots. So meanwhile, they're fighting over all this. And meanwhile, the indigenous Native Indians and Métis people are like, hi, we're already like have our villages and towns here, dude. Like, can you guys take off? Unlike the Hudson's Bay Company, which imported most of its provisions from England, the Northwest relied heavily upon locally procured pemmican. Pemmican was made from yada yada. We got into that. To procure pemmican in sufficient quantities, the Northwest Company traded it at several outposts in the Red River District and transported it to their Bas de la Rivière depot on Lake Winnipeg, where it was distributed to brigades of North Canoe passing between Fort William and Athabasca, or transported to Fort William. Yeah. So basically, they have this main outpost where they would trade and get all this pemmican, and they would stockpile it at some certain spots where they knew they were going to be branching outward in the fur trade industry. These food cache depots loaded to the hilt with pemmican. The majority of the Northwest Company's pemmican was purchased from the local Métis and to a lesser degree from local First Nations people and free men. It gets into the Métis here a little bit. So the Selkirk colony, these Scottish and Irish settlers in 1911, it's 25 families. They embark aboard HBC and private ships led by the colony's appointed governor, Miles MacDonald, whom the First Nations would later dub Chief of the Gardeners. Okay. Those colonists who would not afford the passage indentured themselves to the HBC. So basically forced to become a fur trader to get their ticket on the boat to go to this colony, which again is a reminder, people already live here. Anyway, they brought in with them everything they need to build a colony, as well as arms to protect it from the indigenous inhabitants and the Americans. Yes, those dirty, dirty Yanks. Great Britain and the United States then being on the brink of war, consisting of 200 muskets, 4 brass 3-pound field pieces, 1 howitzer, 3 swivel guns courtesy of the British Colonial Department. In September, the settlers arrived at York Factory and entered winter quarters there. York Factory is a star fort over on the edge of the Hudson's Bay. Supposedly, a fur trading company built it. Because of a lack of boats to transport Selkirk settlers to their vast supplies, they spent the spring and part of the summer of 1812 building 4 wooden boats. So now they're skilled boat builders, I guess. Finally, departing in midsummer, settlers arrived in the fall of the colony site, the bend in the Red River, about half a mile north, yada, yada, yada. So they get there. Then this Pemmican Proclamation says that the welfare of the families at present forming settlement on the Red River within this territory are also expected to arrive next autumn, renders it a necessary and indispensable part of duty to provide for their support in the yet uncultivated state of the country. The ordinary resources derived from the buffalo and other wild animals hunted within the territory are not deemed more than adequate for the requisite supply. Wherefore, it is hereby ordered that no person trading in furs or provisions within the territory for the Honorable Hudson's Bay Company, the Northwest Company, or any individual or unconnected trader, connected trader, or persons with already should take any provisions, either flesh, dried meat, grain, or vegetable. So this ticks off a lot of people. So Hudson's Bay says, oh, they're still trading all this pemmican. So they set up these blockades in 1814. So armed colonists traveled to the Métis hunting camp at Turtle River, to acquire provisions. That night, several Northwest Company sleighs arrived. Sleighs like, horse-drawn sleigh, because it's winter, eh? It's March. They arrived to do the same. Warren's men forced them back empty-handed. Because starving to death out here in the tundra in the winter, eh? Well, too bad. Shortly afterward, Governor MacDonald, hearing that a Northwest Company boat landed with pemmican, was being sent down the Assiniboine River, that is, from Qu'Appelle, sent John Warren with a party of 50 men, 2 field pieces to seize it. The men had instructions to fire their muskets at any boat that passed and drive them ashore. Wow. And any that might refuse to be sunk by cannon fire. Go ashore or we're going to shoot these here cannons at you. All in the name of the fur trade, by the way. Morgan's here. Howdy, howdy, Morgan. Isabella Live 2.0. Kimmy in the box as well. Hi, Kimmy. Good to see you. So the colonists openly refused to obey the latter order. However, the Northwest Company's John Willis at Rivière-la-Souris, the Mouse River, hearing of the blockade and not seeing the boat he expected, dispatched a party of 6 men to investigate, avoiding the blockade by taking the high road around the river. Hit him off at the pass, partner. Anyway, William's men found the boat crew encamped on the river shore and ordered them to cache the provisions in a hidden place. Seeing this party of armed Nor'westers, the HBC battery obtained reinforcements. When the boat did not appear as expected, the baymen searching for it and found 3 Canadians encamped with an empty boat. Questioned them about their provisions and threatened to arrest them, but received no response. Anyways, they found a cache of 96 bags of pemmican. It was taken to Fort Douglas. The HBC's next blockade was a high road the Nor'westers used to circumvent the river blockade. You shall not pass, I guess. Dragon Sage in the box. Howdy, howdy, hello. Check out Dragon Sage's channel, by the way. Just uploaded some boots on the ground in Hamilton, Ontario. Yeah, this is ridiculous, man. Like, give me that pemmican. No, this is my pemmican. And then this guns start blazing. Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Canadians are supposed to be polite and kind and oh, sorry. So anyways, this disrupted the use of the road, but it would prevent the local natives and Métis from passing. The people that were there already, before all this hullabaloo started between these 2 jackass companies, fighting over pemmican and beaver pelts. Which are clowns. Meanwhile, Running Cloud and his family want to just get by to get back to their village. And, we just brought some pelts over to the fort there, bud. Can we get back to our village, please? No, we're the Hudson's Bay Company. We got this here road and that there river blocked. So go on now, get. And then the indigenous or the Métis got to be like, gee, what's going on over here, man? One family was taken prisoner. Oh, that's nice. Upon learning of this, the local Métis offered aid to the Nor'westers for an attack on the HBC blockade. They said, "Nah, it's all right, man. We got other schemes plotting in the background." Sheesh. Oh, yeah, at least don't squish my smokes there, eh, bud? Come on there. So in May, Governor MacDonald sent John Spencer, the colony's sheriff, to seize provisions at the Northwest Company's Rivière-la-Souris post. Confiscated 500 bags of pemmican, 96 kegs of grease, 9 bales of dried meat. He also confiscated 2 chests of Northwest Company-owned guns to prevent them from being sold. Just so they don't sell them to the Indians, and then preventing them from hunting buffalo. Trust me, Métis and Indigenous people, if they didn't already have rifles or muskets, there's other ways they could trade to get them. So, just not legal, on the books ways. But this is wacky, man. They're busting into each other's caches and stealing each other's crap. In 1814, John MacDonald met with Governor MacDonald to work out a peace agreement. A couple of Scotsmen, yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, that'll just work out, not a problem. It'll be okay. To try to prevent bloodshed and to help alleviate the general starvation of the Northwest Company caused by MacDonald's confiscation of all their provisions. The men agreed that Governor MacDonald should keep 200 bags of pemmican and return the rest that he had seized. In exchange, the Nor'westers would release Mr. House and supply the colony with, oh yeah, that's right, because he took this guy hostage. I think I skimmed past that, sorry. But anyway, the provisions during the coming winter. It appears the terms were more or less followed. More or less, we got a deal. Yeah, more or less, eh? Commissioner Coltman later testified that the agreement was kept with some little deviations. Anyways, HBC gets their charter. This is all the land they get. So there's your Hudson's Bay right here. Right? So they just come in here and we have all this. All this is our fur. All this is our everything. Then again, Métis and Indigenous people, they were just right here already. And they're like, hi, we're already just like doing our thing here. And they were like, no, it's all ours now. Because the king said, yep. Anyway, yeah, it's a lot of land. So they're fighting over some of this and some. It's like the edges, right? Because basically the Northwest Company came down the St. Lawrence and came in around this way, or came up the Great Lakes. But they would trade with Indigenous people in the Hudson's Bay's territory. They were just smart. They kind of made it easier for the Indigenous peoples to get to them. So why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't, Thunderfoot be like, why should I go 3 days, when I can go to see these guys in like a day, bud? Bring some pelts, get some, provisions or whatever I need. Trade for whatever, man. Anyways, he sent notes to the Northwest outposts in the region in the name of Lord Selkirk, ordering them to abandon their posts within 6 months. He then raised a company of volunteer militia from the Red River settlers, armed them with muskets, appointed himself as commander. By doing so, MacDonald was invoking the rights of the Hudson's Bay Company Royal Charter, which they felt the Northwest Company was violating. So he raises an army in 1815 in Montreal to defend the colony. He petitioned the British government for regular infantry in March. Lord Bathurst instructed the governor of Canada to give such protection to the settlers on Red River as could be afforded without detriment to His Majesty's service in other quarters. However, British commanders were reluctant to send troops to Red River because of the difficulty in transporting them such long distances. Selkirk pointed out that the Nor'westers annually sent large quantities of bulky goods hundreds of miles beyond the Red River, Selkirk was eventually granted a sergeant's detachment of the 37th Regiment, consisting of around 14 men, commanded by Sergeant Puff, Puff. Not sure. I'm going to go with Puff. Puff? I don't know. Powell? Anyway, not as an official military representative, but to act as Selkirk's personal guard. Oh, sure. See, that's how they get around the old technicality. They do the old weaveroo. Selkirk next turned to the HBC. The HBC was allowed to raise armed forces for their protection under a clause in their charter. So then the Northwest Company decides okay, well, now we're going to get some troops. So William McGilvery, hearing that Selkirk had obtained a contingent of regular soldiers, also petitioned the government for his own soldiers, that his company may not be discriminated against. He only managed to negotiate for 2 officers of de Meron's regiment to take a leave of absence for 6 months. Lieutenant Bromby and Massanis departed for Montreal for Fort William Spring 1869. So, by the way, that's the crown, right? The king. They're pleading, hey, can we get some soldiers here? So the crown or the king is playing both sides. They're funding both sides of these 2 warring fur trading companies. They're supplying them with military soldiers, professional soldiers, to add to their already ranks of militia and volunteers and fighters of Métis and Indigenous Native Indian on both sides. And they're also sending them arms. Oh, here's some howitzers and stuff for you. Like, what kind of wacky pawn game is going on here? In 1815, Northwest Company partner Duncan Cameron now began to implement the company's plan to dislodge the Red River settlers. This was done primarily by threatening to unleash the Indians on the colony and offering the colonists free passage to Upper Canada. If you don't go on and we're going to let loose these wild, crazy, savage Indians on you now. Damn it. So ridiculous. Oh, I wish Old World Mi'kmaq was here to hear this nonsense right now. Not every Nor'wester in the Red River districts was interested in the destruction of Selkirk's colony. Around this time, Northwest Company clerk Ollie Macaulay. The sumbitch's name is Ollie Macaulay. I
don't believe you.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. This guy's name is Ollie Macaulay. Okay. All right. Sure. His name's Ollie Macaulay. He refused to sell firearms and ammunition to the Métis to use against the colony. Consequently, at the next rendezvous at Fort William, Ollie was not allowed to dine at the general mess table. The other clerks were ordered not to associate with him. Don't talk to that guy. He's a knob. And he was sent back to Montreal aboard a loaded Montreal canoe as a sign of disgrace. Nice. Anyways, they keep mounting, their forces swell. It's a powder keg ready to go off. They try to, once again with the peace, okay, you're only allowed to do this or that. Again, links for all this in the description. I mean, this is so ridiculous. We could just keep going and going and going here with this thing. Anyways, they take Governor MacDonald prisoner at Fort William. The Métis resume firing at the colonists. HBC's James Sutherland and one Mr. White met with the Métis at Frog Plain to negotiate a new peace settlement. Sutherland and White proposed that the colonists should abandon the colony. Again, there's just go and we'll stop shooting at you. It's not a great deal, but anyways, resettle in the woods a few miles below the forks, that both parties should live in peace. Yeah, but we're already here. Why do you want us to go there? You should go down by the forks or whatever. Below the forks probably means it's floodplain. We don't want to go down there. Take off. Anyways, they flee these terms and they fled by boats, and they ended up moving as far as Lake Winnipeg. They kind of dispersed everywhere. But on June 24th, the Métis burned Fort Douglas and the colony's mill, stables, and most of the empty houses. This was done by cutting open the windward side to allow the breeze to spread the flames. The goods and horses belonging to the colony were given to the Métis as gifts. The fleeing settlers stopped at Jack Rivers' house. It's a trading outpost. While there, they were met by Colin Robertson and his brigade bent for the Athabasca district. Robertson was convinced to stay and help reestablish the Red River. The colony and was dispatched a party of 100 men to Athabasca to carry out his mission there. They arrived at the ruins of Fort Douglas and began rebuilding the fort. So, they build down a fort and rebuild it. So it doesn't matter. You burn down a town, a city, these great fires, and then you just rebuild it. Just on top of the remains, I guess. Sure. Why should old star forts be any different than old world cities or towns, I guess? I don't know. Well, Fort Gibraltar's burned. In 1816, Robertson, hearing rumors that a party of Métis Indians and Northwest Voyageurs were gathering at Fort Gibraltar to attack the colony, captured Fort Gibraltar for the second time. They pillaged the colony and they burned it down. Nice. These are, by the way, as a reminder, these are fur trading companies. Okay, beaver pelts, mink, fox. And it's to the point where they've displaced indigenous peoples, burning down each other's forts, stealing each other's supplies. All right, now we're into the main course here. The Battle of Seven Oaks, 5 p.m. Guard on duty in a watchtower at Fort Douglas saw the party of mounted Métis and gave the alarm. Semple soon arrived, observed them with his spyglass, and quickly assembled a party of 20 colonists and baymen. That's Hudson's Bay, fighting dudes, I guess, stating that they should go and meet with the Métis and ascertain their intentions. Semple's men were armed, but Semple gave orders that no one was to shoot unless attacked. However, other witnesses testified that the baymen bragged they would have the Métis provisions on their lives. Several Métis entered lot number 3 of the colony to obtain information for the people there. Several colonists then fled towards Fort Douglas for protection. Semple departed Fort Douglas, heading along the road towards the colony, and immediately observed the Métis party increase in number. I guess they teleported more of them in. I don't know. Indian magic. Anyway, these reinforcements were either members of the advance party returning from Frog Plain or the party returning from scouting the colony. Seeing the Métis force swell, while at the same time seeing the fleeing colonists, Semple sent John Burke back to Fort Douglas to bring up a piece of artillery and dispatch reinforcements to protect the settlers. Semple waited for Burke and his cannon, but Burke was delayed and Semple continued toward the Métis. Half a mile from the fort, Lieutenant Holt's gun discharged accidentally. Semple was very much displeased and scolded him, telling him to be more careful, and reiterated that no one should shoot unless fired on. It's a powder keg. It's about to go here, people. Now numbering around 60, they rode towards Semple's party. Seeing the Semple and his men took several steps backward and began to spread out. When the two parties were within gunshot range of each other, the Métis spread into a half circle in front of the Semple's men. A French-Canadian clerk named François Firmin Boucher approached Semple. At the same time, Burke departed to Fort Douglas with a cannon and eight or nine men. Not eight. Is it 8 or 9? I don't know. They got all these other details, but we don't know if it was 8 or 9. But okay. Boucher and Semple exchanged some words, and Semple reached for the reins of Boucher's horse, or according to some accounts, he reached for Boucher's gun, apparently in an attempt to arrest him. Several shots were immediately fired, and Lieutenant Holt and Governor Semple were the first to fall. See? Just fly, like, take it easy, eh? Wow. The Métis dismounted and began firing from behind their horses. The remaining baymen and settlers rushed towards Semple to give him aid, and being thus concentrated together, were cut down in short order. Battle lasted 25 minutes. In the end, 21 Red River settlers and Hudson's Bay Company employees were deleted, including Governor Semple, while the Northwest Company had 1 deleted and 1 wounded, plus an unknown number of native. Yeah, we don't bother counting the dead Indians, I guess. Wow. PCS World in the box. Hello, hello. Yeah, man. Sage is right. Gangster trappers, man. Gangster trappers. Sounds like a load of bison. Buffalo biscuits is what that sounds like. I know. It's wacky, man. It's wacky. Yeah, you know, KILLED did. You know, I gotta watch what I say, unfortunately, with the, you know, the hoot tubes and stuff, man. Fortunately, it is what it is. So at first, there's much agreement as to who fired the first shots of the battle, but I mean, you know, it's too late now. So, anyways, you know, takes the fort, and the rest, as they say, is history. Link in the description. Oh, they retook it at one point. Look, it just goes on, back and forth. Howitzers and Indians and Métis, and this is. And then there's some trials afterwards. So that would have been a kangaroo courts, to say the least. Blockade of the Grand Rapids. What's this? I don't even remember this. 1819. William Williams. Governor of Red River, or he's now the governor of Red River, with a party of baymen, and discharged Dumoulins' army, armed with muskets and pikes, arrived at the northwestern tip of Lake Winnipeg to blockade the Grand Rapids portage. Grand Rapids was a series of rapids 4 or 5 miles long between Lake Winnipeg and Cedar Lake. It was the main causeway to the Athabasca district, which at the time was the most profitable district in Canada land. The baymen built a battery. R.E. Reed Starfort, overlooking the rapids, consisting of 1 cannon and 2 swivel guns. In front of each, an apatus, I'm not sure what that is, of felled trees was made. I guess sort of a wall or rampart of some kind. The second cannon was loaded onto a barge, which they anchored in the stream to act as a gunboat. Huh. Okay. Blockade quickly showed results. Northwest Company partners John Campbell and Benjamin Frobisher were captured. They're capturing each other's fur traders, man, taking them hostage and stuff. Wow, there we go. Merger of the 2 companies. Hostilities between the Northwest and the Hudson's Bay companies came to a swift end when the 2 merged the following year in 1821. The merger was the result of declining profits on both sides and pressure from the British government to settle the differences, even though it was the British government that had been funding the feuding among both sides the whole dang time. In fact, with the merger, many of the combatants of the Pemmican War worked side by side, seemingly forgetting their past aggressions. Sure. Yeah, we just were shooting at each other the other day, but now, hey, we're just working the same trap line here for the Hudson's Bay Company, eh? And having beer afterwards. Oh, he's my buddy now, eh? Okay. Anyway, as mentioned, links in the description below. How was that for a mouthful of a chunk of nonsense? I mean, I know that took up a lot of time, but we covered a lot. But there's links, separate links for the Hudson's Bay Company in the description, as well as the Northwest Company in the description below as well. I just thought that was absolutely like silly. I'll share with you real quick here as well another link that I found. This is for this is an article, opentextbc.ca. I think this is a PDF file. But it's a journey from the Prince of Wales Fort in Hudson's Bay to Northern Ocean, undertaken by order of the Hudson's Bay Company for the discovery of copper mines, a Northwest Passage, and the years 1769, 70, 71, and 72 by Samuel Hearn, published in 1795. So this is called the Fur Trade Wars, Rupert's Land and the Northern Plains, 1690 to 1870 is the subtext in this chapter. So the two companies, meaning Hudson's Bay and Northwest, found themselves increasingly in conflict in the West. Northwest Company forts and trading posts glared across rivers at their HBC opposites. Strange mirror images of Euro-Canadian commercial activity in land dominated by Ojibwa and Cree. Competition between the English Company and Montreal traders had been bloody since before the conquest. The fact that they were both saluting the Union Jack after 1763 did little to ameliorate. Wow, that's a fancy one. Guys never said or heard that word before. Ameliorate feelings. Okay. Moves were made in 1790 on the part of the Northwest Company's leadership to have Britain end the HPC monopoly, but that effect came to nothing. So there's different factions they talk about in here. Again, they share some old-timey old maps of some of the territories and disputed areas and all this sort of thing. So yeah, real quick link for that one in the description below as well. 33 pages long? Wait, what? Maybe? Is it? No. You know what? You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it is. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, Kathy. I mean, I'd be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked. How about that? That maybe makes a little bit more sense. Just double checking here real quick. Coming up on about an hour, so getting ready to do a mid-show break and give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek. As always, every Wednesday on the channel, get some vintage footage video. I find some old-timey film footage. The older the better. I kind of splice it all together for you and usually edit it up with some music. This one will be from the 1920s from St. John, New Brunswick. And it's just under 3 minutes long. But before I do that, I'm just quickly seeing if I missed anything here. When we come back from the mid-show break, we're going to look at these railroad police. We'll have a quick look at some articles, but then I found a cool website that's got some nice old-timey photos that we can scrutinize. Because, you know, say what you like, I dig checking out the old-timey photos. Phil Henry, did I see the email? I will check on the break and see what's the what. Thank you, Phil. Dragon say, I love sing-alongs. Well, there you go. So yeah, actually, the rest of what I've got linked below pertains to Choo Choo Cops. So yeah, I guess this is as good a time as any here to take a mid-show break. If you're new to the channel, or I don't know, just as a reminder to those of you who've been shooting in for a while, as mentioned, every Wednesday, midweek, vintage footage video. Every Friday, you get some boots on the ground. Generally, me looking at old world buildings in and around the Calgary area here in some of the older neighborhoods. Once in a while, I'll hit the road, check out a little prairie town, or recently head up to Edmonton, the capital city. And then, of course, every Sunday, back here live for the Sunday Live Show. So with that said, and without further ado, let's check out this vintage footage video. As mentioned, 1920s, St. John, New Brunswick. It's just under 3 minutes. So stick around, be back in 2 shakes. Cheers, everyone. All right, and we are back. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much once again for shooting in and joining me here. Frankie, New West Reset. New West Reset Live, episode 80 for police. The choo-choo police. That's right, railroad police and fur trader armies on the show here. Links below for everything we covered at the top half of the show. Thank you very much for winding down your weekend here with yours truly on this, well, it's the Sunday Fun Day. If you're watching this after the fact, after the live upload, thank you very much for shooting in and showing your support as well. Really, really appreciate that, eh? It's always kind and thoughtful of you, and it's always good to hear from you too. So yeah, thanks a lot there, eh? And of course, howdy to everybody in the HooTubes and on the Bumble. And thank you to everybody who have already shared and subscribed. Appreciate it. You know, all that stuff that you hear a million channels ask you to do a million times. So here we are. Let's look at some cops, some railroad police. See what's going on with this shenanigans. Let's go to the Canadian Encyclopedia. No. Hang on. Let's go to Wikipedia first. See what the official story is on this. This isn't exclusively a Canadian thing, again, as a reminder. When it comes to the railroad cops, railroad police or railway police are people well, it's a good thing they're people, I guess. Responsible for the protection of railroad or railway properties, facilities, revenue, equipment, train cars and locomotives, and personnel, as well as carried passengers and cargo. Railroad police may also patrol public rail transit systems. So a private police force employed by a private railroad company can patrol your public rail transit system. I guess a train's a train is a train, I guess. Heidi Easterholm says, my upper Michigan relatives say, hey, just like you. Well, yeah, well, in Canada, we say, eh. A lot of places in Europe say, eh, as well. It's our version of huh. You know, in the US, it's like, oh, it's a nice day out, huh? In Canada, it's like, oh, she's a beauty out today, eh? Except in Saskatchewan, they say hey instead of a. Instead of EH, it's HEY. Not sure why. Anyway, their exact roles differ from country to country. In some countries, the powers of railroad police are no different than any other sworn law enforcement officer, while in others, they're more like security guards, mall cops, you know. Some are also given extensive additional authority, while those in other jurisdictions are more restricted. In the United States and Canada, railroad police are employed by the major Class 1 railroads, as well as some smaller ones. This is vague. Some are given extensive additional authority. Who and what additional authorities? Don't know. Doesn't say. All right. That's super vague. Thanks for that. That's very, very vague. Anyway, moving on. In other countries, this work is typically done by territorial police forces rather than specialized agencies. In the United Kingdom, railways fall under jurisdiction of the British Transport Police, a national transit police force that is responsible for policing all railways and some public transit systems in Britain. So that's a nationwide thing, kind of like Canada's nationwide police force, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. But in this case, it's a nationwide transport police. Okay. In Brazil, the Brazilian Federal Railroad Police was created in 1852. Wow. By decree of the Emperor Dom Pedro II, making it the oldest police agency in Brazil. There are some proposals in the Brazilian Senate to reactivate this police agency, as it is considered important to national security. Yeah, I guess if you're transporting a lot of goods and valuable stuff on the choo-choo, I suppose. Robert Lavoie is in the box. Howdy, welcome. Canada. So what's going on in Canada land here? Canadian railways, like those in the United States, aided in nation building and brought new police agencies into existence. Of course, there's always that, the nation was built, the railway, right? It united the nation coast to coast. transcontinental railways and whatnots. Anyway, railway constables are given full police powers within 500 meters of private property that the railway company owns, possesses, or administers. So you got to be careful with that, because it doesn't necessarily mean 500 meters of train tracks. Could be within 500 meters of some random building somewhere. The Canadian Pacific Railway initially relied on the Dominion Police, which is a defunct federal police force. Anyway, and later the Northwest Mounted Police, then later the RCMP. During construction of the Transcontinental Railroad, there it is. But by the later 1880s, we're employing their own cops. The large number of navies recruited to build the railways. What is that? Navy, a clipping of navigator or a navigational engineer to describe the manual laborers working on a major civil engineering project. Okay. Anyways, the amount of these dudes recruited to build the railways brought security problems for rail companies. In 1900, the CPR established its Special Service Department. Worked closely with municipal, federal and provincial police. Yada, yada. Okay. So there you go. Link below for all that stuff. Oh, China has their own railway cops too. Sure, of course. Deutschland, yeah. India. Really? I've seen footage of Indian trains. No offense, but surprised they even have train cops over there. Just saying. If you can hang off the side of a train with your luggage tucked under one arm and a chicken tucked under the other, scares me. Italy, Pakistan, Ruska lands, Fitzy, the UK. See what's going on here in the States here. The UK, the British Transport Police protects the rail system in Great Britain due to their nationalization of the railways. So just after W.W. Deuce, the railways were all nationalized. So then, this just becomes another branch of the government, the law enforcement, of the government, for lack of a better term. Okay. History of the railway police in the United States traces back to the beginnings of the Pinkerton Agency, of course. In the mid-19th century, the number of U.S. Marshals was insufficient to police the railway lines sprawling across the vast rootin' Wild West frontier, passing through areas far removed from protective measures available in populated centers, left railroad lines and their passengers and freight vulnerable to banditry. Banditry, you say? Through his detective business, Alan Pinkerton met George B. McClellan, another Scotsman. Scotsmen in the railroads. Oh, hello there, buddy, with your hidden hand. The president of the Ohio and Mississippi Railroad and Illinois Central Railroad, as well as its attorney, Abe Lincoln. Honest Abe. With Lincoln's encouragement, Pinkerton began supplying detectives for the railroad. Some railroad police officers are certified law enforcement officers and may carry full police arrest powers. The Appointment, Commissioning, and Regulations Railroad Police under Section yada, 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 yada of 1990. Yeah, we hear stories. Anyway, links below for that, because I thought that was kind of wonky and, peppered nicely with a good amount of shenanigans in there for a fella. Not quite as much shenanigans so far as the pemmican wars of the fur trading companies and their armies, but hey, So I've got one here. This is the Canadian Pacific Railway Police, their early years. And this is a PDF file. Again, a link below for this. CP Police, their early years. In 1836, the first railway in Canada operated on wooden rails topped by strap iron. ran for 16 miles between La Prairie and St. John's in what is now the province of Quebec. By the 1860s, there were about 150 settlements in Western Canada land scattered around Hudson's Bay, Hudson's Bay Company posts between the Red River and the Pacific coast. The British North America Act, passed in 1867, established the Confederation of the Dominion of Canada. The Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald, along with other prominent politicians, recognized the need for a transcontinental railway to ensure that the province of British Columbia joined the Confederation. We've got to get BC to join, otherwise the states are going to gobble them up, so we got to build a choo-choo to go and get them. We've got to unite the country with the railroad. So those scheming Yanks south of the border there don't scoop up British Columbia from Canada land. In 1880, the Dominion government entered into a contract with the Canadian Pacific Railway, whereby the government required a rail line to be constructed from Atlantic Terminal to the Pacific coast within 10 years. You got 10 years to do it, buddy, or the Yanks will get it. The first recorded instances of railway police in Canada were when the Northwest Mounted Police were stationed along the railway route, enforcing criminal laws for horse stealing, whiskey smuggling, and altercations and labor disputes during the construction of the railway. Okay. Interesting. So, of course, as they expand, the crimes expand. So they got to hire more cops. So they eventually just get their own police force. In the early part of the 1900s, the Special Services Department provided policing for cells in the Place Vigar Station basement. Place Vigar Station. Chinese deportees were kept in the cells until they were escorted to Vancouver, British Columbia by CP employees who were used as guards along the way. Wasn't that nice? Anyway, in one instance, after arriving in Vancouver, there was one more body than called for on the manifest. Inquiries indicated that during a train stop in the Fraser Valley, a guard saw a Chinese on the right of way beside the coach, and believing him to be a deportee, just put him on board, just grabbed him and shanghaied him, put him on board. He was in fact an employee, but with the language barrier, the guard took no chances and put him in the coach with the deportees. I'll just take it upon myself to deport this guy single-handedly. Wow. Wowie, wow. Angel Dreams in the box. Hello. Hello, how you doing? How's you going there, eh? Some goofy stories here, man. September 1904, near Silverdale, British Columbia, 3 men robbed a CP train and stole about $7,000. One of the robbers was identified as Bill Miner, alias California Billy, a notorious American stagecoach and train robber, but he was never caught. Oh, wow, that's a shame. 1906, 12 miles east of Kamloops, an engineer and fireman were confronted by 2 masked men carrying Colt 45s. Crew were ordered to detach the mail car, proceed up the track about 1 mile, where a third companion joined the robbers. The mail clerks were forced to open the mail car door, hand over all the express shipments. As there were no express shipments, the gunmen took all available registered mail parcels and left. Let's take everybody's gifts they ordered from the Hudson's Bay catalog, or the Eaton's catalog, or the Simpson Sears catalog. In 1909, a train midway between Notch Hill and Kamloops, when an armed and masked men forced the crew to stop near a bonfire where 3 additional armed men entered the train. I guess the police, you need the police. In 1912, there was no organized police force, and the only protection offered to freight yards was given by elderly watchmen who, because of the lack of training and supervision, were unable to cope with the dangerous situations they faced. can't even make this up. Oh, not too far away, just a stone's throw from a guy's place here. Cochrane, Alberta. During 1912, a train man was shot and deleted after confronting two transients riding a refrigerator car. One assailant confessed to the boomity booms and was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to dangle. Conditions continuously became so bad, the late Lord Shaughnessy, chairman and president of the Canadian Pacific, decided that in order to provide effective protection to CP's property, an organized police force was necessary. By 1913, we'd see, under the direction of the late Chief R.G. Chamberlain, the birth of CP's Department of Investigation, now known as Canadian Pacific Police Service. There you go. That's not so bad. 6 pages in there. 1 page is some big thing that says, "We grant you royal decree that you may have your own cops to crush the hobo's skulls when they're hitching a ride on the choo-choo," I guess. Anyway, what led me to this whole thing was I was researching for Thunder Bay, for the episode 12 of the Knuckleheads that we had earlier today, live with Chris from Old World Exploration. And I stumbled upon this. I'll share it with you here in a sec. This is Fort William. Port Arthur and Fort William merged to form Thunder Bay, along with some other little nearby hamlets and townships and so on, in 1970. But apparently, when I was looking around for stuff that would be odd that had to do with Thunder Bay or Fort William, I came across this article about this Fort William freight handler strike. And it involved the choo-choo cops. So I thought, you know what, let's put a pin in that and let a guy put that on the back burner for the live show here right now. So yeah, let's have a look at this and see what kind of shenanigans we can find here. This is from the Canadian Encyclopedia.ca, and the article is Fort William Freight Handlers Strike. It's an older article. It's from like 11 years ago, but I'm sure not much in 1909 has changed. Anyways, oh, look what I done did. Damn it. The Fort William freight handlers strike by 700 non-unionized immigrants occurred the 9th through the 16th of August 1909. Greek and Italian strikers engaged. Greek and Italian strikers, okay. Weren't we all told that the Chinese have to do with all this? I guess except for when it comes to the cops, right? Then it's the Irish. That's racist! Unless it's Canada, then it's the Scottish, I guess. Anyway. Greek and Italian strikers engage in Canadian Pacific Railway police in a protracted gun battle on the 12th of August, whereupon Colonel S.B. Steele, oh, look, there's our old friend Sam Steele, everybody. And I just undid it again. Suggest an edit. Damn it. Old friend of the channel, Sam Steele, of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They're the Mounties. Anyways, he restored order by using the local militia and the Royal Canadian Mounted Rifles from Winnipeg. Just calling a regiment of riflemen from Fort Winnipeg, of the armed horse-mounted police. And we'll take care of these unarmed, filthy Greeks and Italians. No offense. I'm just, it's just how ridiculous this is, right? A federal conciliation board granted a satisfactory settlement, but in 1910, the CPR fired its 400 Southern European employees. There you go. So they got their sweet, sweet revenge. Really? Well, if we can't shoot at you, we're just going to fire your ass, I guess. I just thought that was kind of way out there. The transit police, the railroad cops get into it with some freight handlers that are on strike. So they start shooting at them. But because they're outnumbered 700 to whatever it was, 30, they got sent for the cops and the reinforcements. Great. Real nice. Sheesh. It's absolutely ridiculous, man. Well, yeah, the Fed jumped in. That's for sure there, eh, Scott? That's how they do her over there. Anyways, there it is. Silly. Oh, aye. Yeah, that's you get that from the Scots. But I think you also get that a lot in Newfoundland. Aye, you get that in Newfoundland for sure there. Aye, you get that there. Newfoundland there. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Where are we at here? Hour and a half. Thanks again for shooting in, joining a fella here for the show. Appreciate it. New West Reset and New West Reset Live, episode 84. Let's look at this last link that I've got here with the old photographs. This is the railroadpolice.com. Because I know what you're thinking, Frankie, you're Canadian. Why are you showing Union Pacific for the thumbnail? Shouldn't it be Canadian Pacific? Yeah, it's all the same. You know this. This is Railroad Police Photos. Wild Bunch Posse there. A combination of Pinkerton, UP agents, and trackers taken in June 1900 after the second Wild Bunch robbery. The idea of the car is credited to E.H. Harriman, with the notion that fresh men and fresh horses could get to the scene of a robbery by train in time to track the outlaws, whose horses would not be well rested. From left to right, presumed to be Joe LaForest, T.T. Kelleher, and H. Davis, George Hyatt, Jeff Carr, and C. Fun. (1896) Omaha, Nebraska. Captain Jack Kinney was the first president of the newly formed International Railroad Detectives and Special Agents Association. Look at one of the names here, by the way. WT Canada? Is that right? Left to right. Thomas Gorman, WT Canada. Oh, okay. No, that's part of his title. Something Railroad, something Western Canada. Okay. Captain Jack and the Dalton Gang, Life and Times of a Railroad Detective. Oh, okay. Some book, I guess. I just like the old photos. How tall this sumbitch is. I mean, yeah, these guys are standing on a slope here, but guys, a tall drink of water. There's their yippee sticks. They got their billy clubs. Give me a badge and a stick, and look out, boy, howdy. We'll get you. Original photograph of the Union Pacific Railroad Police from the early 1900s. Standing in the middle is Chief Special Agent David Montgomery, who was previously a scout for Buffalo Bill Cody during the 1876 Sioux-Cheyenne War. You don't say. There's compare and contrast. There's the new guys. Yeah, because you need those and all this to look out for these, I guess. But anyway. Oh, man, they got some Harleys there, eh? Didn't know that. It's Pretty cool. All right, Union Pacific Railroad Special Agent Ralph Taylor, who on October 14th, 1933, was run over by 2 runaway tank cars. Not one. It took 2 to kill the guy, I guess, in Portland, Oregon rail yard. Several days later, died from his injuries. He was run over by 2 runaway tank cars. Those are generally filled with grain or liquid. You know, the canister-shaped ones. He was run over by 2 of those and died several days later. That guy's tougher than whalebone. Wow. Tip of the hat to that fellow. Oh, there's Buffalo Bill Cody, I guess. It's not much of a posed photo at all. No, it's fine. Pennsylvania Railroad Police. Yeah, they look almost like regular cops. These long jackets can't be convenient around trains and train cars and roundhouses and turntables. 1907 Railroad Cavalry, Chicago and Alton Railroad. Look at that. That's cool. They look like Mounties. They look like Dudley Do-Right. Oh, these guys mean business. Southern Pacific Railroad Police between 1945 and 52. Okay, yeah. Missouri Pacific Railroad Company, September 1st, 1976. I thought that said 1876 for a second. I got a little bit excited, but yeah. Here's one from 1892. Missouri, Kansas, and Texas Railway Company. $5,000 reward. It's a lot of money back then, I tell you what. Oh, it's tanks on the train. Oh, look out. Some boomsticks. Thought there'd be more old pictures than this. Not that I have a problem with boomsticks, but you know how it is. Oh, look at that. Look at this. All right, now we get some. Look out. Get your Tommy gun. Illinois Central Railroad Division Special Agent J.W. Reed in 1929 with his patented bandit gun. I shoot train bandits with this here thing. Wow, take it easy. It's got an under-mounted weapon light, predecessor of today's Surefire. Yeah, he's got his flashlight just. He doesn't even use tape or no. That's craftsmanship. He's got a whole mechanism there to hold his torch or his flashlight there. January 1943, Illinois Central Division Special Agent J.W. Reed, along with Special Agent Ross and Reed's son Colvin. Jackson, Mississippi Special Agent's Office. Huh. It's very interesting. Articles and so on from the 40s and 50s. Railroad Police, Texas. Boom, there it is, San Antonio. Unknown date and location, but it's believed to be Texas Rangers and Railroad Special Agents in West Texas. We're not sure. Well, like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure, but I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, okay, sure. Oh, look out. My revolver pistol. 1900 appears to be, don't you love the wording? Appears to be 2 different law enforcement groups and possibly the train crew. So in other words, they have absolutely no idea what's going on in this photo whatsoever. I guess. I mean, I guess that's what they're saying.
What these people are saying.
Anyway. It's a cool photo, though. These guys do look like they mean business. I'm not going to mess around. They do look like they mean business. Except for maybe this guy with the suspenders and his hand on his hip. I'm not so sure about him. Not so sure about that fellow, but anyway. August 1900, Union Pacific Train number 3, Tipton, Wyoming, believed to have been perpetrated by Butch Cassidy and his gang. Railroad express car blown up with dynamite during a robbery, and $50,000 worth of gold was taken. There you go. Oh, look at that. There it is. June 1899, 6 masked men robbed the Union Pacific Overland Flyer number 1 near Wilcox, Wyoming. Bandits used a little too much dynamite to blow open the safe. This explosion blew the express car apart. The bandits made their escape with 50 grand in cash and gold. Members of the Wild Bunch are believed to be responsible for this robbery. That's, Kathy, you read my mind. Mental telepathy link. I was just going to say, this to me sounds like they're making up stories. Yeah, these masked bandits came in and they bloated up the train and took off with all the cash and gold, and we never caught them. Even though we have our own police force, and if we're close enough to a town or some county capital, we can enlist other law enforcement agents to come to our aid as well. No, it sounds more to me like the people that were in charge with the railroad orchestrated these things, and they're the bandits. It just adds more layers to the term robber baron, I guess. These railroad robber barons. Rio Grande Southern, Missouri, Kansas, Missouri, Texas. Those are kind of cool. Different railroad passes belonging to Captain Jack John Kinney. Later became the chief of railroad police and the first president of the International Railroad Detective Special Agents, yada yada, 1896. Barbecue chicken fundraiser. I'm there. Send me an email. newwestreset@gmail.com. 1910, Delaware and Hudson Railroad Police Department. Look at that. Yeah, very interesting. This is a massive site, man. Like, there's all kinds of, again, a guy could go on for, who's this rotund fellow with the walking stick and the jauntily cocked chapeau upon his head? Southern Pacific Railroad cop with star pinned to his sweater. Unknown location and date. Oh, okay. And apparently unknown name. It's too bad. I like this guy. Until you try to sneak on board, then he whacks you 3 ways from Sunday with that stick, but okay. Oh, look at this. Now we're talking old-timey. Early cabinet card of Erie Railroad policeman Charles Philitius, taken in 1906 in Jersey City, New Jersey. A cabinet card is an entirely black and white photo that was glued onto an ornate paper backing or mat. Yeah, it's like a courtesy card. Like, here's a photo of me. Why are you giving me your picture, man? Because in case you wanted my picture. I don't know. I kind of dig this guy's mustachioed. He's got the unibrow going there, too. Good on you, bud. Erie Railroad Police. Erie. Okay, yeah. This guy looks like Jimmy Rogers, the singing brakeman, the Blue Yodels, bluegrass country singer from the 1920s and 30s, the old-timey guy. He looks like Jimmy Rogers. Early cabin photo, milk waters. Although the young officer's name is unknown, the image was taken at the John Arthur Studio, Montevideo, Minnesota, 1895. Okay. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, they investigate stuff. Sure, I get it. I want to see more of the old-timey, though. That's what I'm interested in, because the history of this is just so wonky and out of left field. Like, okay, we'll hire you as a cop. Sit down for the interview here. All right, so what's your background? I used to work for Wild Bill Cody. What? You heard me. I was one of his scouts. Police commissioner, excuse me, let me try that again. Peace commissioners of Dodge City, Kansas in the early 1870s. Bat Masterson pictured at one point during his career worked as a special agent for the ATSF Railroad. As if he wasn't busy enough in the official history. I'm gonna attribute him to railway too. Okay. They like to show their revolvers on here. I'll give you that. Again, nothing wrong with that. Just know the Hootoops doesn't like it. That's all. Look at this. Let's all pile in to this goofy jalopy. $1907 in New York. Okay. Is that right? Simpler times. When a cop would wave at you and go, "Hey, how are you? Pretty nice day, huh? All right, I'll see you later." You know. Southern Pacific agent Owen McManus in 1928. Agent McManus came to the aid of a fellow officer in the Sacramento rail yard in March of 38 when a deranged man had a gun pointed at his partner. The suspect turned and shot McManus in the stomach. Ouch. McManus was able to return fire, striking the suspect in the head before succumbing to his injuries. So he died. Police cops got killed at it. Oh, that's a bummer, man. Who would have thought that supposedly after the Wild West rootin' tootin' cowboy train robbery days, who would have thought that kind of stuff was still going on, right? It's 1924, not 1884. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, you get the idea. Links in the description for that below. That's the railroadpolice.com. Railroad police photos. Everything from, modern day back to the early days of the various police departments for the railway. I thought that was just so weird. So weird, man. Heidi says, my uncle and a friend rode the rails at 16 years old to Texas to become cowboys. Nearly started. Yeah. Yeah, it's you got to have at least some knowledge of sort of roughing it, quote unquote survival skills in terms of, building yourself temporary shelters and making a fire and feeding yourself and whatnot. But also you got to have some knowledge of what train to hop and where it's going and, where these trains are directed and redirected to. Because you may want to go to Texas, but you could end up in, I don't know, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And then you'd be like, dang, I thought that train took a turn back there. Not to mention these railway cops will thump your skull for you right quick, bud. Right quick. So I don't know. I thought that they tied together nicely tonight for the show. The railroad police and these fur trader armies. Because it seems like at first it's these half-assed attempts, hodgepodge slapped together, willy-nilly, cockamamie schemes to police this, that, and the other. Like no one thought when they were building the Transcontinental Railroad, hey, we better have some dudes to keep an eye on some stuff. So they didn't institute anything first. No, they just started building the railway and then, oh, look out now. There's crazy stuff going on with booze and quote unquote wild Indians and look out, man, and all that stuff. Right? It's like, well, why wouldn't you have some of these? It's like they build the town and then they put in the sewage system. It's like, Didn't you do that bass backwards, man? You know what I'm saying? And then once the railroads are up, they would have already had some kind of police force or something, because it would have carried over from the building of the railroad. But no, then they're scrambling again because now they got train robbers and people breaking into storage facilities and rail yards and stealing stuff and whatnot. It's like this big, massive, organized business that this business is in itself is in the business of being organized and timely and a master of logistics, working with tight schedules. But meanwhile, they don't have the planning or the foresight to go, you know what, we better have some cops keep an eye on stuff. Like, yeah, from soup to nuts, like from beginning to end. From the time they start, quote unquote, driving in the first spike to build the railway, all the way to when the last spike, when it's all joined, when they went from west to east and east to west. Everything from that all the way up to present day. But no, they're always just playing catch up. National companies and railway organizations, but they're playing catch up because they're behind the eight ball. I do not know, man. What's going on with Vaughn here? He says, I worked for the railways as a car cleaner for about 20 years back. It's a funny world. A lot of ex-cons and mentally handicapped employees. And the air is thick. Very negative place in the city deep. Oh, that's too bad. I guess it's better than, you know, being out. I guess it's not as good, I should say. It's better to be like outdoors, like in the rail yards or something, or I don't know, doing track maintenance. At least you're outdoors. Although in Canada land and northern US, you know, it gets cold in the winter because you get the ice and snow and whatnot, and that's not fun outdoors, but it's kind of too bad, though. I guess it isn't all about swinging the hammer and singing the songs. I've been working on the railroad, yippee skippy. You know what I mean? Like, You know, it's like paving companies. Well, the companies around here, anyways, that pave the streets or pour concrete sidewalks, it's all like these guys that, yeah, you know, guys that spent time in the big house, stuff like that. See what I'm saying? Maybe that's why I never worked for the railroad. Because here I'd be, you know, farting around all day, checking out the trains, you know, the locomotives. Wow, look at this, look at that. And they'd be like, Frankie, get back to work. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm not here to look at the trains all day. I'm here to actually work. I don't know. I mean, that's what my great grandfather did. He was some high up guy in the rail yards. My great uncles worked different parts of the rail yards or worked on the trains themselves. One was a brakeman. I think I told the story before. He lost an arm. He was pulling the switch and slipped off the train, and the train ran over his arm. That's a bad day at work, man. That's, I mean, you know, snowflakes today, they got to go home because, you know, I don't know, get a paper cut or something. Well, yeah, and that's always the thing, right? Yeah, when you're working for the man, you know. I mean, and, you know, most of us, in some respect or another, got to work for the man. Just it is what it is, unfortunately. It's part of this new system after the latest reset. Got to punch the clock for the man. Yeah, that's right, Vinny. Cousin Vinny. Vincent says you can't have too many days like that. Wait, really? You can only have two, right? Because you only got two arms there, eh, bud? But yeah, you don't want too many days where you lose a limb or a digit, whether it be a finger or a toe, you know, your foot, your hand, any kind of extremity. I mean, you don't want to get injured at work at all. gotta be extra super duper duper careful around trains, especially in the winter. Especially back then when you were a switchman, you literally had to sort of hang on, lean off the train, and pull the switch as the train slowly chugged past, those switches that you see along the track sometimes. You literally pull the switch and it changes the track line if you're coming off of a single track and going onto a dual track or what have you. Anyway, before we go here, what do you say we kind of mess around a little bit and share a couple of little somethings here?
You know what I mean? All right, we're having a good time.
First one is this one's from Kathy. Kathy shared this one. She sent it to me. It's I think it's hilarious. Personally, I think it's hilarious. It's kind of a take on something similar that we've seen here before. This one's got a little bit of a different spin on it. I think you're going to like it. How ridiculous is that? So, when you hear that, we look at some of these old world buildings, right? And they're magnificent structures, right? And people say, hey, we couldn't build that today. Well, kind of technically we could, if you throw enough money at it and equipment at it and time. Maybe, perhaps you could. You have to gather some of the most skilled laborers and workers, especially for the fine touches that we see in these old world buildings. You have to gather them from far and wide for large projects like we see in some of these old world buildings. But then when I see stuff like this, I'm like, yeah, we probably still couldn't build those today, because look at that jackassy BS. Like that would be yeah, no, there's safety first. Wait, what? Safety first? Safety first?
That doesn't make sense.
They never heard of don't get injured at work. Nope, never heard of it. Anyway, let me show you something super random that, for reasons that I cannot comprehend, popped up in my recommended feed on my YouTube's homepage. When I just log in and, you get your recommended stuff and whatnot. I was like, what in the Sam Steel is this? Angry frogs. I trimmed it down a bit because it's a longer video. I trimmed it down to the good stuff. Look out, man. Like, that frog went at him. Went right at him. I have no idea. It just popped up. I mean, what does that have to do with anything that I've watched in the last couple of weeks? Nothing. It's not like a guy goes around surfing the YouTubes looking for reptile and amphibian videos to watch. But I'm kind of glad it did, because it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And that pretty much says it, how a lot of people are with their personal handheld devices. You know, oh, our phones and our tablets. Where's my phone? Oh, where's my phone? Oh, help me find my phone. Dude, it's in your pocket. Take it easy. Take it easy. Man, I remember when the phone was a thing bolted to the kitchen wall and you had to ask your mommy and daddy if you could use it. Can I phone my friend Mike? You done your homework? No. Well, you can phone Mike after you do your homework. Okay. You know. PCS World said, I recited a chimney chase hanging from a crane? Braver than I. Be careful, man. Careful out there. Hope you were like harnessed in and whatnot. But, you know, probably not, right? A hard hat? Safety goggles? Man, I'm just doing stuff in my yard. It's fine. I'm just building a garden shed. It'll be fine. I don't need to wear work gloves. Work gloves are for Marys. And at the end of the day, you got blisters on top of your calluses, and you got splinters and slivers from the wood. And you're all like, woe-is me, right? So yeah, you got to wear the equipment, man. I get it. It's a pain, but you got to do it because, you know, reminds me of that old commercial to wear your seatbelts, right? Because you used to, back in, again, you know, when I was a kid, seatbelt, what do I got to put that on for? They finally made the mandatory up here, right? And I think Alberta was one of the last holdouts too. Like if you're driving in British Columbia, you got to wear your seatbelt as soon as you're driving. Welcome to Alberta. People would literally unbuckle their seatbelts. I ain't playing with you. I'm serious because I did it. But they had these commercials to promote, hey, okay, come on now. Quit screwing around now. We all got to wear our seatbelts now, okay? Studies have shown that they're pretty good. So let's just roll with it, okay, buddy? So these commercials, right? And it's this guy getting into his car, and you hear like a narrator's voice saying, don't forget to put on your seatbelt there, fella, or something like that, right? And the guy's like, I don't want to. It'll wrinkle my shirt. And then cut to the next scene. The guy's in a wheelchair because of a bad car accident, we're supposed to assume. And he's a quadriplegic or something. He's got to be strapped into his wheelchair, long story short. And a nurse comes in and goes, oh, Mr. Harrison, let me fix that for you because look at this. It's wrinkling your shirt. So, yeah, kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But anyway. Cousin Vinny in the box. Vincent says, Alberta, the leave me alone capital of Canada. Yeah, for the most part. Saskatchewan, very much so as well. But yeah, Alberta's like, just what are you coming over here bugging me for? I'm busy doing this stuff here. Like, get out of here, man. Like, what are you doing, buddy? Can't you see I'm trying to farm this stuff? And then the mountains over there, I got to look out for stuff going on there. Like, we got a lot going on here. Okay, now, so don't bug me with your stuff. Yeah, that's Alberta. But she's a purty piece, that purty Alberta, I tell you. Anyway, where are we at? Boom, 2 hours. There you go. Time to lock it up. Lock it up. Time to wind it down here for the show. So once again, thank you very much for joining me here. Frankie, a New West Reset Live, episode 84. We were looking at railway police and fur trader armies going to war over beaver pelts and whatnot, I guess. Nope, it was about pemmican. Well, it was about territory. Anyway, a lot of the same old song and dance and shenanigans in that story. And then, the railroad police was just some nice gravy on the taters. So once again, thank you for joining me. Thanks for winding down your Sunday and winding down your week here with yours truly. Again, if you're watching this after the fact, really appreciate all your support as well. Thank you very much. Vaughn, thank you, by the way. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I was checking my email on behalf of someone else, and I got a notice from PayPal. So thank you, Vaughn. I appreciate that. That said, a new batch of T-shirts as thank yous are going to be coming up here pretty quickly. So I'll let you know how that progresses as well. And again, as a reminder, coming up Wednesday, vintage footage, Friday, boots on the ground. I believe it's we're back in Calgary, I believe, for the next boots on the ground video. And we'll see you here next week for the next live one. Again, links for everything below. If you want to get a hold of me, love to hear from you. Guys' emails down there, and my deets from my other socias, as the kids probably don't say anymore. So that's going to seal the deal here for Frankie and New West Reset. Thanks again, everybody. Really appreciate it. And till the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right. Bye, everyone. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.